If you're eating a plant-based diet and you have cancer, you may be creating issues for your body that are working against your healing. I'm going to go through the main issues that I see routinely in testing when I work with clients that have been on a vegetarian or vegan diet prior to working with me. I'm also going to show you what tests to run to see if you have these issues. But first, I want to dig in a bit and talk about blood sugar. Now, stick with me because this is super critical when you're doing a plant-based diet and it's often completely missed. So, way back in 1931, Otto Warburg won the Nobel Prize for defining a cancer cell as one where the metabolism has shifted. That means that how it makes energy inside the mitochondria, inside the cell, has changed. So instead of being aerobic, it turns to anaerobic. And with this shift, it becomes very inefficient in how it uses glucose. And so it needs way more glucose in order to function and grow. Keep in mind, this is a cancer cell and it wants to grow exponentially. This is actually how a PET scan works. They feed the client the radioactive sugar and then they watch on the scan where the sugar is gobbled up. That's where the cancer's at. This is why you will hear people say that cancer is a metabolic disease, because that is actually the defining factor of a cancer cell. So when there's excess glucose in the blood running around the body, it just makes it so easy for a tumor to grow. Now, when we're talking about blood sugar, I want to clear up some confusion. Whenever we eat anything that has carbohydrates in it, whether it's white sugar or donuts, white bread, squash, beans, rice, pie, it all gets digested and turned into glucose and put into your bloodstream for the rest of your body to use. If there's excess glucose in the blood, the body is going to signal the hormone insulin to come in and put that extra glucose into storage. This is code for into your fat stores. And often we get metabolically broken and don't put that extra glucose into storage very quickly like we need to. Our blood sugar ideally should stay between 70 and 90. So if someone gets up to say 150, that's like double what it should be. And just to give you perspective, diabetic is over 200. So we're not even talking about that. Now, what do you think would happen if someone has a tumor that wants to grow faster by glucose and that person is eating a lot of healthy carbs? What might be a good way to limit the tumor's fuel source? What about changing the diet so the blood sugar doesn't go so high? Would this be something that you're willing to do? This is what I like to do with my clients. Work on the client's blood sugar levels, and it naturally limits the fuel source to the cancer. And I want to mention some amazing current day researchers, Thomas Siegfried and Dom D'Agostino. They're doing fascinating research on integrating diet with cancer treatments and looking at the effects. And not only are they getting the blood sugar lower and under control, but they're also taking a step further and getting the client into ketosis to harness the therapeutic effects. So you've probably heard of the ketogenic diet by now for weight loss, right? But did you know that it originally was a medically therapeutic diet for epilepsy that was often used for their entire lifespan to stop seizures? And now we know that it also helps people with cancer. So what are ketones, you might be asking? So when you eat very low carbohydrates, your body is actually going to start to make ketones. They're an alternative fuel source for your body, and it's actually a much cleaner fuel source. Bonus, cancer cells can't usually use them for fuel. So if you wanted to find the perfect diet to feed your healthy cells, but not feed the cancer cells, well, this is it. So your body gets nourished, less toxic byproducts, and the cancer cells can't hijack your body's fuel source for its own use. Cool, huh? And if that wasn't enough, the ketones have been shown to actually shrink tumors and slow tumor growth, among a lot of other helpful things. So who wants to get the effects of something that your body makes for free just by following a detailed diet? Okay, so just to be super clear, the diet is doing two separate things. One, it's starving the tumor of its preferred fuel source. And two, it's going to get the body to produce ketones, which have therapeutic cancer effects. So it's not just about giving up sugar. It's about really dialing in the diet so you're producing ketones. I have a very specific system that helps people get into ketosis gently, monitor it with at-home testing, and do the detective work to really dial it in for them personally. So that way we can get them into nutritional ketosis from diet alone, and then even up into the therapeutic ketosis where you're getting those therapeutic healing molecules and the whole time enjoying your food. Okay, now let's go even further. Being in ketosis is actually going to make your chemotherapy more effective. Did you hear that? If you are doing chemo or planning on doing it, you must know this. So when your blood sugar is in that normal 70 to 90 range, then the cancer cells are not getting as much of their preferred fuel source. And when you do the chemotherapy, it's going to gobble up. Those tumors are gobbling up more intensely the chemotherapy, making it more effective. If someone is a strict vegan and is not open to any dairy or eggs or fish, keto is not going to work. This is because then they will need to get all their protein from foods such as beans, rice, lentils, which are not great forms of protein in the first place, but they're also going to be giving them a lot of carbohydrates. So their body is not going to produce the ketones. And soy is not an option as it wreaks hormone havoc, which is such a key component playing into cancer. So the vegans just are not going to be able to get into ketosis unless they're eating a ton of over-processed foods. So they are not going to get those ketones, which are so therapeutic. In order to fully address metabolic issues, eating some animal products is really important. And what this actually looks like can vary wildly. And I love showing clients how much fun we can have, within the keto boundaries and really personalizing it for what you like. Because this needs to be good tasting and sustainable as well as therapeutic. But I want to go still deeper. I want to explain this key concept that most people don't know, but you might because you're obviously here and you like to dig in and understand things and research things. So when plants are consumed, they're not in their most bioavailable form ready for you to use. When the animal eats them, it does the work of making them bioavailable for you, already in their active form. Now, when we're talking about cancer clients who may already have a diminished capacity to do extra things like activate vitamins, this is really important. So when you look at your low penetrance genetics, and no, these are not the genetics that your oncologist runs or the ancestral genetics. These are different ones. When you look at these, you can see things like if someone is good at being able to activate your fat-soluble vitamins, for example. This is really critical because eating them in their already active state can make a huge difference in terms of if it actually shifts our levels of having those vitamins internally ready to use. So, for example, there's a lot of talk in the alternative cancer space about getting enough vitamin A to support the immune system. And to this end, they often recommend drinking carrot juice. Lots and lots of carrot juice. Did you know that there's no vitamin A in carrots? Does that surprise you? I know it did me when I first heard that. There's beta carotene, which is a precursor that then your body has to activate into retinol, the active form of vitamin A. And I mean, if somebody's body is already struggling to fight cancer, isn't it just kindness to give it what it needs in the form where it doesn't need to do extra work? Now, if you have certain genetic hiccups, you're not going to be able to do that very well, if at all. And this is not uncommon. Around 30% of the population have issues with their fat-soluble vitamin conversion and production. And since low vitamin D levels are known to be associated with cancer, this is really important to know. Clinically, since I only work with cancer clients and I run these genetics with every single client, I know that there's a much larger percentage of cancer clients with these genetic hiccups than the general population. This is so key because lots of times people just assume, oh, I ate this. This is the nutritional profile says it has this much vitamin, therefore I got it. And it's just not as simple as that. And if you never test and see your genetic predisposition or see what your active levels are, say vitamin A or vitamin D, you'll never know if this is something that's going on behind the scenes. So test your low penetrance genetics and then test your current status with blood work on these fat soluble vitamins. My favorite genetic test is 3x4 genetics, which you can see all of this on. And pro tip, you're going to want your vitamin D levels much higher if you have cancer or autoimmune conditions than the lab reference range. We're also going to want to take into consideration our digestive capacity. And when people have been eating little or no meat for a while, they tend to have lower levels of stomach acid and may not actually be able to digest their food properly. Oftentimes, when this is the case, people will come to me saying things like, oh, I just don't care for meat. I don't eat very much meat because I don't really like it. And I just gradually became a vegetarian or vegan because I don't care for meat. Things like that give me a big red flag that there's probably a stomach acid issue going on. Now, they may not have any symptoms, but this often shows up as low levels of different minerals. See, in order to absorb your minerals, you need to have a low enough pH in your stomach, meaning a high enough level of stomach acid. Now, if this is confusing because you've heard that you should eat an alkaline diet, check out the video I have on alkaline diets. It'll make a lot more sense. And most vegans know that they will not get enough vitamin B12 because they're not eating meat. It's just not possible unless they're supplementing or eating fortified foods. Now, when we're talking about cancer, this can be an enormous deal because B12 is needed for lots of important things, but especially for methylation. And that is known to, if it's not working right, to drive cancer. So what is methylation? To make a complicated process super simple, methylation is when your body converts one chemical into another just by adding a methyl group to it. So this simple reaction controls hundreds of different essential processes and functions, including turning genes off and on, detoxifying chemicals, processing hormones, and building neurotransmitters. When it's not working, it's known to be a driver of cancer. Many cancer clients have genetic issues here as well, looking at things like the MTHFR SNPs and especially the pathways, which can make this process more difficult. We want to look at the homocysteine levels in the blood, and if they're over 7, they need to take some methylated high-dose B12 and B9. And this can get complicated again when vegans aren't getting enough methyl B12, especially if they aren't testing it. Now, often people are taking multivitamins that don't have the more expensive form, the methyl form of B9, meaning folate, meaning it has folic acid. This is the synthetic form instead of methylfolate. Then, if the person has these genetic hiccups, it's actually going to block them from absorbing the methylfolate and make a hot, huge mess where the things they're doing, good things, are actually working against them. So check your genetics. Run your homocysteine and your vitamin D blood levels. Get your stomach acid level up. Monitor your blood sugar with things like hemoglobin A1C and get those therapeutic ketones flowing because there is hope. And I'm here to help you find it.